Okay, okay. So if you could turn to the bottom of, can you see that? Page 4. Turn to the bottom of page 4. I'm going to read through that paragraph and read through that paragraph. It might not make much sense. I'm going to try to paraphrase it a little bit after I read it. And then after that, I want to skip back to the beginning of the excerpt, back on the top of page 3, um, and talk a bit about what on earth an epigraph does and what sort of parameters or quote unquote intentions Derrida is. It's sort of weird to say that he's making them explicit, but he's at least bringing them to the surface and italicizes a few of them, so might be worth it. I'm by an open window, and so every so often you might hear screams outside. I don't think they have anything to do with the fact that I'm talking about Derrida, but who knows? Maybe maybe they do. All right. So bottom of page 4. Perhaps patient meditation and painstaking investigation on and around what is still provisionally called writing, far from falling short of a science of writing, or of hastily dismissing it by some obscurantist reaction, letting it rather develop its positivity as far as possible, are the wanderings of a way of thinking that is faithful and attentive to the ineluctable world of the future, which proclaims itself, at present, beyond the closure of knowledge. The future, he continues on the top of page 5, can only be anticipated in the form of an absolute danger. It is that which breaks absolutely with constituted normality, and can only be proclaimed, presented, as a sort of monstrosity. For that future world, and for that within which it will have put into question the values of sign, of word, and of writing, for that which guides our future anterior, there is as yet no exergue. Okay. We'll explain that last sentence really quickly, but what Derrida is saying here, right, is that he wants to explore the uses, and we might say the abuses, of the term writing, okay? The uses and abuses of the term writing, as it has appeared and recurred throughout the history of philosophy, throughout the history of medieval Christianity, or medieval Christian theology, I should say, and through modern philosophy too. Okay, and so instead of just sort of like dismissing all of it and trying to completely reconstruct a brand new definition of writing so that we can have a grammatology, a science or study of writing, what he wants to do instead is to kind of linger a bit through older works and try to, I don't know, come up with a different way to read them. Okay. I wrote something down here that I'm going to read. I don't know if it's going to make any sense to you, but we're going to try it anyway. So Derrida seems to be saying that the term writing, at the time of the writing of this book, that the term or the concept of writing seems to be taking on explicit importance and significance that it didn't really even have prior to the 20th century. Okay. And he's going to develop this idea, I think it's on page 9 or so of chapter 1 too. He's going to explicitly draw out some examples of the ways in which it has become a more important concept than it had in the past. Okay. So he's asking then, what is being announced by this re-significance of writing? Okay. He's saying that some sort of future is being announced, which we cannot know. That's what he means by that future being beyond the closure of knowledge, right? We can't study it because it's not here, right? We only hear it in these sorts of local announcements and echoes and glimmers and shimmers, in which, and anyways, he's saying that there should be some sort of, what he's trying to get at and linger with is some sort of future that's announcing itself in the present, which we cannot know, a future in which our sense of what we mean and how we construct meaning and what we value in our most foundational concepts of language, of morality, of other things. A future in which these things will be so different than they are now, that they, if they were to appear now, they would appear monstrous to us, unthinkable to us, unrecognizable to us. Perhaps this future, for which there can be no exergue, no epigraph, no announcement of purpose or intention, can still be sounded, can still be sketched out, can still be outlined, can still be traced by looking a bit more closely at how we talk about writing, what assumptions are made about writing, and what other sorts of distinctions, presence and absence, intelligence and sensation, and all sorts of other dichotomies. What sort of assumptions are made about these as they are associated with one of the primary distinctions Derrida is going to be exploring in this book, and that is speech and writing. Okay. And so all of that might sound very enigmatic and confusing, but the point is that Derrida is announcing here that what he wants to do is not build a new science, not start from scratch, not get rid of everything that has been said before, but rather to weave his way back through what has been said before, to try to look at it and read it a bit differently, to put pressure on those parts that seem to be so limited and problematic, and to show that there is where we can do some work. There is where we might begin to reconceptualize what we mean by writing. And it's there that we might make possible the occasioning of that future that is so different, that might appear so monstrous to us here and now. Okay.